Okay, you can see on the screen there a portrait of the Ozarks Part 1. Shannon County home. And then a portrait of the Ozarks Part 2, Shannon County Hearts of the Children. There you go, on YouTube. So those are the two videos I was talking about on the other video earlier. I got a reply back from, I think, yeah, Far North Bushcraft and Survival. Glad you're still here to tell the story. Wow. Okay, so that's what I'm going to read right now. That's if, of course, if I could find it, type thing. I sent it to myself, so I should be able to find it, right? If it don't pull up here real quick, my kickback. Okay, I got a kickback. That's kind of what I thought of it at first. Okay, so this was to that guy, Far North Bushcraft and Survival. His name is Lonnie, and her name is Connie. And another shout out to somebody that really doesn't need it at all, but Girl in the Woods. She does parodies, and she really does good parodies. And they're not insulting parodies; they're complimentary. She does Really Big Monkey, a parody of Really Big Monkey YouTube channel. Survival Lily. What's her name? Stephanie Margaret. She's kind of goofy, but she does a parody of her, and she does a parody of Lonnie. He's got this big long beard, and she knocks it. She just really hits it on that one. So Lonnie and Connie. So, okay, so this is my story. This is just for electric fence story. Far North Bushcraft and Survival. He's talking about his charger. He's like, somebody says, how much is your charger? That thing is like, wow, that's awesome. That's really high powered. And he goes, it's like 1.4, maybe 1.6 joules. That's how they rate chargers, in his joules. And I was like, that's nothing. I said, that's nothing, but don't grab it just for kicks, because you'll probably get one or two kicks, jolts. But if you don't know what a measly 1 point whatever joules feels like, then you cannot begin to imagine what 20 joules feels like. It was winter. A foot of snow was on the ground. My son had just put new fencing in for his ornery goats, who only want to know two things. Where am I not supposed to go? And how to get there. How can I get there? Where do you not want me to go, and how can I get there to violate your fencing? So he had just installed this because goats are so darn hard to keep in. I mean, I helped the boys move fence one time for his grazing operation. We were pulling out, and I said, hey, you guys need to hook up the charger. Their fence is one single strand of poly wire. It's not even the tape. It's just a little, not as thick as paracord, and it's got stainless steel in it. That's all they use. And we're pulling out. I mean, I'm driving, and they're in the car, and I said, hey, you need to turn the charger on. And they said, nah, we just won't tell them, Dad. We just won't tell the girls. So the heifers were fine. They only needed one strand, and we ran them down the road just with the baling twine that you pull. You get at Home Depot, Lowe's, Menards. At the front door to tie your stuff on with, that white stuff, cheap stuff. We use it at Safeway. Grocery stores use it for tying pallets on. Anyway, that's all we used to run them down the highway. Just run along, string it onto, drop it on bushes and stuff. As long as they see that one strand, they will not cross it. So goats, however, are different. They're ornery. Okay, so the fence was one string. Their fence. Their response was, nah, we just won't tell them it's not hot, and we drove off. So goats' hairs are hollow, insulated, and they will take the shock to crawl under or through the wire. Anyway, so he had made this gate out of that flat tape like Lonnie had in his video. The rest was 12-gauge stainless steel wire. So he opened the gate, meaning he just unhooked the top. It wasn't uncharged, and I knew that, but he just leaned it over from vertical, leaned it over like that. And he jumped through. Well, he's small, he's short, he's light, he's a framer, he's in good shape, he does rock climbing, blah, 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 blah. And he's a lot skinnier than me. He's like 100 pounds lighter than me, so he's a little bit narrower. So I go, this is wintertime, there's a foot of snow on the ground. Oh, let me just read it here. I'm ad-libbing there. Short of 100 pounds heavy. I had a heavy Carhartt coat on. I put my right forearm against the T-post and woven wire or barbed wire, whatever, on the right. Well, that T-post was a foot deep in the ground, in wet ground, and there's a foot of snow on the ground. So, a foot of snow to boot. So, it was well grounded in retrospect. Definitely something to say about hindsight being 20/20. I reached out to grab the insulated part, like the post of his gate. All right. Now, all would have been well, except that when he made the gate, there was 1/2 inch of tape sticking out. Even that might have been okay, except that it stuck out toward the open side of the gate. In other words, toward the opening, where I was reaching toward. And that might not have been an issue, except that one single solitary strand of stainless steel wire, thicker than a human hair, but not real thick, nothing big at all. It stuck out right toward my hand, maybe 1/4 of an inch sticking out beyond that tape. So I'm reaching over to, here's the strand about up here, and I didn't see it, of course. So I'm reaching out, and as I'm reaching out, it went through my glove. It burned my hand right here, went through my chest and out my forearm to the T-post, because electricity travels to the shortest distance to ground. Well, the shortest distance to ground was through my hand, through my chest, out my forearm, to the T-post and down to ground. Now, had I been barefoot, it would have gone to ground through my body, through that way. It still would have gone through my heart, So I literally could see this blast of energy go through my heart. I mean, I have that experience in my mind that I could feel it, see it go right through my heart. So, boom, I staggered to his truck. Boom. Except that one said, okay. I staggered to his truck about 10 feet away and fell against it. He came over, grabbed me, holding me up. Now, I don't know why I asked, because my only memory is like of a lightning bolt going through my chest and heart, but I said, did you hear anything? He says, it sounded like a gunshot, Dad. I'm so sorry. My hand was burned. It came out through my forearm, through the heavy Carhartt coat. After I got home, I looked up the chargers he was using, some New Zealand type of really high-powered chargers for goats and stuff. By the way, he started off with those wimpy ones made by that company that made yours. This was to Lonnie, Parmac. Anyways, first thing I read was a warning not to use higher than 20 joules because, quote unquote, they said you might kill someone. Well, methinks being older, heavier, not in great shape, he about done killed me. Jersey here, when I mentioned it, wondered if it damaged my heart and resulted in my heart attack. I don't think so. I doubt that. But it didn't feel good, I'll tell you that. Did I mention that hindsight is really good if you survive the experience? So I told him, okay, that was another same thing. I copy and pasted it, corrected it, and I think that's the latest version there. So there you go. Fencing is very powerful. But here's the other trick that I want to tell you is, this is from Luann Todd. She said, no matter what it is, bear, deer, everybody likes peanut butter. Peanut butter, I have a friend that did a trapping for, not for trapping furs, but in a residential area to trap raccoons and skunks and possums and things that were in people's houses, attics. And he always said, well, we have to use our premium custom raccoon bait. We have to use our custom raccoon possum bait. We have to use our custom raccoon skunk bait, to make it sound like, it's expensive. It was always peanut butter, But Luann Todd told me that you take open a can, a number 2.5 can, whatever, and bend it in half, and you put peanut butter on it and then put it on the fence. Well, the first thing and most bears, they show this in that video, they come up, they'll touch it with their nose, first thing, and they'll touch it with their nose. Once they do that one time, and deer, same thing, they'll come up, but if you put peanut butter on it, they'll lick it. So they'll not only get a nose pop, but even more electricity, they'll get hit through the tongue. She says from the time they do that for the rest of their lives, when they see that fence, or if they know it's charged, obviously, to them, that fence is 100 feet high. It's a barrier that they will not cross. Now, they show that. These bears kept coming in, and one of them got shocked, and another one got shocked, and then, they kept touching, and finally this one black bear hit it, or a big bear, or blacker bear, or whatever, got hit, and they all ran off, and they never came back that day. So But they deliberately tempt those grizzly bears with food inside that fence as a way of testing that National Outdoor Leadership School, or whatever it is, NOLS, Knowles. So anyway, there you go. There's my little story. So feral hogs, bears, you get bait on it. Especially for wildlife like feral hogs, you want to put a bait on it, like the peanut butter, so they will come up and they will touch it with their tongue and they will get popped hard. And then that fence is good. So my point is, this is a think outside the box solution for a lot of homesteads. You don't have to put in permanent rods unless you want to graze goats, you want to be able to move. But in either case, you don't have to spend a lot of money on posts and rods. You're going to have to get some of them for corners where you don't have a tree. But if you have a lot of trees, especially if they're little 4-6 inch and whatever saplings, use the trees. Just tie off to them. You can run your insulators, like my son. Like I said, he just took he cut a bunch of slats about 4 inches wide of a green board from the mini barns, the Amish, that green wood that they make for building barns and stuff. So I made them about, if you want to do the 3 strands, make it that long. So you got one in the bottom, one in the middle, one at the top, 4, whatever. You could use the netting fence even. You can make it plenty 4 foot wide, the whole full length of that fencing. Put your fencing on it with insulators, and then you can just put it anywhere. You just tie it off to trees, bungee corded trees, click, 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 click. You can move fence in a matter of an hour. But for a homestead, to protect the home, because I'm thinking of this one situation where they're out in the middle of nowhere, and there are hogs, there are bears, there are who knows what all, to run a whole perimeter around from the driveway, around well house, whatever outbuildings there are, whatever other people there are going to be around, campground, whatever you want to call it, around the house, chicken coop, everything, and have it be fairly well secure. And I would think that netting would probably be the very best thing, because that's going to keep out a fox or something. They can go under that fence. A bear will dig a little bit. They showed a bear digging to get under that fence to get to the food, and they said it dug for several hours. It had it fast forward, and it only allowed it to get another 6 inches in. But smaller predators, they said, will, if you have to check it every day, you can beef that up with some security cameras so you can see it from the house. Put one where you're looking down the whole length here, another one where you're looking the whole length there, another one where you're looking the whole length this one, another one looking the whole, all 4 corners. Or you could have a swivel one. 2 cameras would cover the whole thing if it was square or rectangular. 2 cameras, because you can get cameras that'll swivel, and you can run them off of a smartphone. So anyway, go ahead and consider that. That netting fence would be awesome. That netting fence will hold just as much of a charge as the flat tape. I mean, it's the same stuff. It's just stainless steel wire, very thin. They both have thin stainless steel wire in them, and that netting is phenomenal, because it would keep coons, skunks, possums, coyotes, all of your chicken killing smaller predators out. So now if you have a problem with eagles and hawks and stuff, then you're SOL. You got to put up netting over the top too if you got chickens out in the yard. So anyway, that's it. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. So it's Jerry Diamond. If you're listening to this, you are the remnant. Thank you. Good night.